Hello and welcome to the Holo-Table podcast. This is episode 4 in the series where we give our opinions and hot takes on Halo-related content and topics. In this particular episode, we'll be discussing the overview of the Halo Infinite flight, our pros and cons of what we thought of the flight itself. We will also rate the flight, any unanswered questions the flight did not provide, and also any next flight predictions, such as what do we think is going to be in the next flight, what the next flight will have, and what will it focus on, etc., things of that nature. And also potentially more. If you are looking for certain topics that we discussed, there will be timestamps available in the description below. I am UA Mr. Me29, alongside UA Clips.
Howdy.
UA Apollo 5.
What's up?
UA Dayton 44.
How's it going?
And our guest for this episode, Failure.
What's going on?
We are your hosts, and it is now time to discuss, criticize, and get hyped for Halo. Now, before we get started with this episode, Failure, could you please introduce yourselves to the audience here?
Yeah, hi. I'm Failure, other known as Rivoli, as people around the squad here refer me as. I was in the clan up until about a year and a half ago, but I'm back now. I've been playing Halo since about 2001. Up until present time now. So my first Halo game then would be Halo Combat Evolved, and Halo as of recent's been going a little slow, but other than that, it's still going somehow.
All right, thank you, Failure. I'm gonna be calling him Rivoli for the rest of this video, just in case if anyone gets a little confused. But always a pleasure to have you back. Glad to have you back on board and seeing what we can do in the future of Halo with Halo Infinite. Now, getting into our first topic here is pretty much just going to be a brief overview of the Halo Infinite flight itself, just about what was really in the flight, so anyone who hasn't been in the loop could just have a bit of an understanding of what we actually did during this flight. Now, the Halo Infinite flight is actually called a technical preview, and this particular technical preview was focused on the UI and making sure that things function within each other, such as the battle pass system and making sure you can get into lobbies, get into games, not being stuck at a menu, stuck at a lobby, etc., that kind of thing. It wasn't really too focused on gameplay. That's why we were playing against bots in the first place. But with that in mind, there was still some stuff that 343 wanted us to critique in that way, just to make sure that if there were any bugs, that they could be solved before launch. So, getting started on how the flight actually happened. On the flight date, it was pretty rocky, but I'm not sure if that was a test itself, just to see if Halo Waypoint could, I guess, handle that amount of stress of having so many users going onto the site. But Halo Waypoint was overloaded that day, as you could tell, for all the excited Halo players who wanted to play Halo Infinite and to give them a chance to provide feedback. The Halo Waypoint website just became flooded for hours. PC players can manage to get their PC stream keys, and Xbox insiders were stuck at the pending screen for hours. But luckily, throughout the night, some people were getting in slowly and were able to play within that first day-ish, as you could say. Each day the bots progressed alongside a new map that came out. The bots started at Marine difficulty, which is like, you could say, is normal mode, because there is a rank before that, which is Recruit, but it goes from Recruit, Marine, ODST, and Spartan. But we had played against the bots on Marine difficulty, and then the next day went to ODST, and the final day was Spartans. And speaking of the final day, we actually had 2 hours of PvP content to where we were able to play against other players who were also in the flight, which was incredibly fun. And it's crazy to know that there are already sweaty players for Halo Infinite. It's exciting because in a way it can bring back a more competitive feeling to just the game itself. But overall, it does still need to be a fun game to play, but bringing in that competitive, like how they did in 2007 with MOG and things like that, that was had its own genre and own community and fan base. But getting into more of our main topics here today, we're gonna get started on the pros. So what did we think that was pretty good about this game? And to get started, I'm gonna go with me first. If you have not seen last episodes, I completely recommend that you do, because last episode reflects on this episode in a way, because we were talking about the flight, what was going to be in the flight, and how the flight was going to go, kind of, and what we were expecting. And my first thing that I really talked about last episode was about the UI. And it's kind of like 343 had heard me, because they hit it right on the nail when I talked to last episode about the UI. I was saying that it needs to be colorful, but also 3D. It'll be a mixture between Halo 3, Halo Reach, and Halo Wars. It had this awesome pelican in the background. It was a nice, natural-looking atmosphere with your Spartan there as well. And I'm glad that they're going back to the roots of like a more natural atmosphere, rather than the Promethean-esque Forerunner, super sci-fi look that they were having in Halo 5 and Halo 4. Like, I understand that 343 is trying to set their own standards for what their version of a Halo game is, but it didn't bring the proper atmosphere that a regular Halo is supposed to have. And I'm glad that they're finally going back to it. And that, I would say that's one of my biggest pros throughout the flight. It was just beautiful. The maps were beautiful. The UI was beautiful. The gunplay was beautiful. But I'm not going to go too far into it. I'm just going to go ahead and roll it off to you, Clips.
So, with the pros of the game, I liked it overall a lot. I had a great time playing it with you guys. The movement to me felt really good, especially I felt like I had a lot of control. It wasn't really sluggish. Also, like air control, jumping in the air and just the direction you could go into. I felt like it had really good control in that. Another thing I really like is how much customization they showed us, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot more ahead when the game comes out later on. I really, really love the new BR. It reminded me of the old one from Halo 2, and I really hope that competitive has BR starts, because I'm excited to use it a lot more. And like what Mr. Me was saying earlier about the visuals, the game is really bright and I really like it. It looks really appealing. And it's just overall, I had a really good time with the flight.
Alright, and UA Apollo?
I also really liked the customization and how the game looked, because their previous showcase of the campaign, I honestly thought it was going to look somewhat identical to Halo 5 and like that plasticky look, but it actually looks really good. And I really did like the maps too. The maps felt very, very fun to play on. A lot of different areas that you can get to. There's like little sneakies and all that cool stuff. I really enjoyed that. And weapons felt very, I wouldn't say balanced, but
Not that it just felt balanced, but it felt fun to use.
yeah, yes.
Alright, Dane, what about you?
I liked the whole preview just because it actually felt like Halo, and the gunplay was great. Movement felt amazing. There wasn't any of the boost or thrusters or anything. Ground pound, shoulder charge. It felt like Halo and looked like Halo.
Alright, go on to you, Rivoli.
So, to Dayton's point, I think everyone's point here, my biggest pro is that when you first loaded up that flight and you got into the game, it didn't feel like another 343 game. It felt fresh and fun to play again. Like after that first game you played, you felt like you wanted to play more. Like you kept playing that flight, doing the same thing, fighting the same bots on that same map for a while, because you wanted to feel like more of the game. And that's the biggest thing that stuck with me, like aside from the BR feeling good and using the Bulldog felt refreshing, but it just, like Dayton said, it just felt like Halo. It didn't feel like another game that was trying to be Halo. It was just trying to be itself, and I think that's the biggest thing 343 needed to do. And another great thing that they put in, which is some controversy right now, but I think they nailed sprint perfectly. They took the formulas of what they had before and some feedback. They toned back sprint, and I think they made it so the people that like sprint and don't like sprint can kind of come together and make it work finally. And I think that's kind of my biggest takeaway.
I understand. I understand that, and I completely agree. Especially with the sprint thing. With that in particular, there's a lot of people that's saying that it needs to be faster, but I don't know. If it's gonna be faster, then I feel like they're gonna have to go the Halo 5 route. If you move too fast, then they're gonna have to disable your shield recharge, and I don't think that was fun when you play Halo 5. I don't think that mechanic was really that great, in my opinion. So I am more comfortable with just this strategy that they have now, because it seems like you can move around the map without needing to sprint. Or if you want to and do these advanced techniques, you can do sprint and have these, sliding on top of clambering and jump sliding. You can do all these modern day techniques, but if you want to go the classic route, you just walk, and there's no penalty to that because you're off the radar walking or crouching. So if you're sprinting, that is more of a disadvantage in a way. So
It feels really good to walk. It doesn't feel too slow.
yeah, I think they said that they actually bumped up the walk speed, so I think that
Yeah, majority of the time I didn't even feel like I needed to use the sprint, just because walking felt really nice.
mhm.
And you had control of the weapon the entire time.
Well, another point to that too is that when, like, there's obviously a strategy to sprinting, like off your spawn to get to a power weapon. Other people I've seen have fought with that idea, like it doesn't matter, like they get there in like a relative time anyway. But there is a strategy behind that, and if they increase overall that sprint speed, I feel like there's the sprint time to get to one side of the map to the other, that changes the flow of the map they created and the speed that they created for it. So I feel if you can get to the one side of your spawn to another spawn in 5 seconds with, or 7 seconds with sliding and sprinting, instead of maybe like 4.5 seconds, that completely changes how you approach the start of a game, and even into the game when you have weapons respawning or you need to help a teammate. That changes the dynamic of everything, and I think they've made it perfect to where the sprint feels like it's helping you, but it doesn't feel like you can get to the other instantaneous. The game is going really fast.
I agree on that, because like what we were talking about, if you increase like sprint speed, then you have to make adjustments to the entire map too. Just like with Midship and Truth from Halo 2 to Halo 5, they had to expand that or stretch that map due to the fact that sprint was so much faster than regular walking, but they made it an illusion to where sprint was just as fast as Halo 2's walk, but that wasn't the case. It's because the map had got expanded.
Another pro I was gonna say for this is the maps. I thought the maps were really good. They didn't feel too simple and they didn't feel too overcomplicated. There's a lot of ins and outs. Like, for the the outside map? I can't remember what it's called.
Oh,
You can
bizarre.
go under. Yeah, you can go under, and there's usually where that bulldog is. And from that under part, you can get from every part of the map.
Mhm.
And it's like it's not bad. Usually, I hate those types of maps like Zealot, but I like this version of it.
And also it has like those little like sneaky ways that was mentioned. It adds another dimension when you're off the radar, when you're just walking, because now if you're playing competitive, that's a competitive map. That adds a whole nother dimension to how you can approach things, but it also adds a different strategy to how you have to control the map, because now if you get map control, you have to, if you're overexerted, obviously you can watch it, but if you're back, it gives the team an opportunity to get behind and cause a problem for you. So it adds another dimension to how the map flow is going to be for that map and other maps that they designed too. So they've somehow, just to me, they've made a good formula to make the game interesting, but not make it too fast at the same time. So you're kind of bringing two fan bases together, and hopefully it meshes as well as I think it's going to.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Got to keep more of an eye out on the map. Make sure you're keeping an eye on those sneakies you're saying, so they don't get that flank.
Alright, I think we should talk about the best thing that was in that flight, and that's the grapple shot.
I really liked it.
I used it like twice.
I never
Made
played
me feel
Pathfinder.
like I was Batman.
I never played Pathfinder in Apex, so this is my first time ever using a grapple shot. I never used it in Call of Duty because I haven't played Call of Duty since Ghost. So like,
I would say it's closer to the Call of Duty one than it is Pathfinders, because Pathfinders you can like you can kind of like lean and shoot yourself off.
mhm.
This the Halo grapple is more like singular direction.
Yeah, going to like
There's
point A to
no,
point
there's
B.
no adjusting.
Yeah, you can. You can adjust it.
You
Can
can like
you?
swing
Because
yourself.
When I
Yeah.
tried, I tried swinging and I couldn't figure it out.
You gotta turn and look that way.
Yeah, I think the swing
that's
is
what I was
just
doing.
isn't as loose as Pathfinder's.
That's
I should
drastic.
say.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it feels like with Pathfinder you can just do some crazy, almost like half loops with
Mhm.
Pathfinder.
The momentum with the Halo 5 one or the Halo Infinite is really fast. I really like it.
Yeah, the grapple hook from Halo Infinite is more of a going to point A to point B with a little bit of maneuvering that you can do, and it still feels good to me regardless. The abilities are really good. I was very skeptical at first, especially with active camo and overshields being a pickup rather than activate on the spot.
Also, it's really interesting that you can pick that up, and if you have great map control, your whole team can get it, and then you all can activate it and use it together at the same time. You can save it.
I did not know that.
I actually have a con against the equipment, but I'll talk on that later.
Alright, so actually getting into that, let's actually go ahead and start talking about the cons now. Since we're gonna go in the same fashion, I'll go first, and then Cliff, you can go ahead and go real quick. So for the cons, obviously you can always look at the bad more than the good, and just because there's more bad doesn't mean all the bad outweighs the good. So just going through this with an open mind, just like how we were talking about the maps. The cons for me is actually kinda the maps. Just in this particular 3 maps that we played, they felt very, the best word I can say is safe. They felt very safe. Who am I really to critique when my favorite game is Halo Reach and all their maps are remastered? So I haven't really played a great map in a long time, and I just seem like playing these maps were very safe to me. Like Bazaar was symmetrical, nothing wrong with a symmetrical map, but to be honest, I think that one is the one that played the best. That one and Live Fire, I didn't really like Recharge that much. Recharge was the one that had the gravity hammer. I didn't really like that map too much. Maybe it was the weapon placement. And actually getting to weapon placement, I don't feel like there's enough weapons on the map. Like if you just go back into older Halo games, there were so many weapons on the map. There was plasma pistols, needlers, and magnums, grenades. All this stuff was just on the floor to be picked up. But now when you play Halo Infinite, there's like a total of 5 wall caches that has a weapon. I don't know. I know that they're trying to have a limited amount of weapons for the sandbox because they don't want weapons to overlap. But at the same time, I enjoyed the quote unquote more is better kind of thing. Like it was so many options that you could choose from, and I understand not everything is viable, but it's about having fun using them rather than their I guess kill time. I'm thinking of it more in a casual sense, like if you play like Dino blasters or something, concussion rifles, things of that nature, just fun weapons to use on a random occasion, not on a more competitive level. So those were my like two biggest critiques. One that we can all agree on is the fact that in the UI, even though I praise the UI, there are some issues with it that we cannot decipher who was who because there were no service tags on your player when you're in the game. You just see this.
Yeah, that was terrible.
Yeah, you just see this circle of someone taking damage. You don't know who it is, and then since we all look the same in the flight with our outlines pretty much hovering over our character, we can't, decipher who's who. So I think that was a big letdown as well, and it kind of messed me up in my experience of trying to play the game on a level of me playing the game on a daily basis.
Character lighting was a little weird too, especially because like the enemy team can have a blue color, and I don't know, with the glowing of the lights doesn't really help. So the enemy team blue, I think teammate, and kind of threw me off sometimes.
Yeah. Go ahead, Clips. You go into your list.
Oh, I agree with a lot of what you were saying with the weapons. Something that I wasn't too crazy about is, I learned them eventually, the locations of the weapons, but they blended in with the walls a lot, so it was like hard to see them at first, and I couldn't really find them. And I think the equipments on the map there was too many, and they came around too often. I really hope for like competitive that they only put like 1 or 2 on the map instead of, it seemed like there was like 4 at one time. Gravity hammer, I didn't like it at all. I didn't like having to put 2 weeks notice to swing it. And the grenades, I didn't like them either. For some reason, the grenades on both sides felt really weak. I feel like they could be, or at least the frag grenade felt really weak.
All right, moving on to you, Apollo.
In all honesty, I know in the past podcasts I said a lot of negative stuff about Infinite and all that stuff, but in all honesty, I really don't have that many cons about the game. Just a couple. We're the bots, but it's a preview, so it's expected for them to be, not too great. But yeah, that's basically about it. Everything else I really enjoyed about the game.
I am genuinely surprised. I'm excited, but genuinely surprised. I'm glad that they were able to prove it to you. They were able to, you were able to give them a chance again. I think that's the thing. That's when when you really want it. When you have people who walked away from your franchise and you do something and you pull off an incredible feat like this to at least grab the attention of someone who was getting ready to walk away, that's when you did something good. And I'm really glad to hear that from you, Johnson. Seriously. And moving on to you, Dayton.
So the main cons that I have, the drop shield was pretty weak, kind of irrelevant to pick up, which is fine. I guess you don't want it to be super overpowered, but it just takes a little bit too long to pop up after you throw it down, so it's kind of pointless. Unless you're camping, of course. But the second thing is the BR starts. I'd prefer to have a BR instead of a pistol, in competitive at least.
I agree. I hope that's something that they do correct in the full game. At least in social, if people want to start off with assault rifle, I would say fine. But in competitive, I would most definitely prefer a battle rifle start because I am trash with the pistol, and I can do a lot better with that really good feeling BR, because that BR feels really good. And
Yeah, I was hot garbage with that pistol.
yeah, it was rough. All right, moving on to you, Rivoli.
So kind of probably just going to gloss over what's already been said. Is the service tag thing, as we've all played Halo long enough where that's basically that should just be there. Like, I mean, flight or not, I mean, if they're this far into the game, that should already just kind of be there to me. I'm not a game developer, but that really bothered me, as it did everyone else that noticed it. And like you said, the lack of weapons was also kind of terrible, like you said. But another thing that bothered me is, like, when you go to a weapon pad, like after you play a game, like a BR would start on one weapon pad, and then the next game, what's the other one? The new DMR,
The Commando.
The Commando would spawn where the BR was, and I couldn't figure out if they just change every game or if they change during the game. I could never figure it out, and that bothered me because I don't know if you guys know, if you do.
Yeah, it seemed like it had like 2 cycles, because on the outside map, mid would either have the sniper or it would have the spike gun.
The
Skewer,
yeah.
yeah.
That's just, I don't, if that's like a social thing, which I'm assuming it's going to be, I guess fine, but that, to me, that just, I mean, to some it may make it interesting because you don't know what's going to be there, but then you just don't know what you're going to do. Because if you have the Commando and then they start with the BR, to me it just doesn't, that's not Halo. The weapons are there to be in that spot, and that they stay like that unless there's a change to move a weapon into a different area or change out that weapon later. It shouldn't be a surprise every single time I play the game on what gun is going to be there.
With that being said, Rivoli, I think I've come up with a hypothesis here. So, you know how you said, because trust me, I recognized it. Me too. I recognized that every map it transitioned weapons. What if one of them was the social side and the other one was the competitive side? Like, this is what you will experience in social, and this is what you will experience in competitive. Like on Live Fire, they had a sniper in middle that could be for competitive, and for social they have the skewer, and they were just giving you a taste of what both game types would be like. I think
yeah, that's interesting to think about.
Yeah, see, I think
I like that take on it.
yeah,
Giving you a side, letting you see both sides of the coin, that type of thing.
I thought that was something good to bring up really quick, but also something to bring up that I didn't mention that was a pro. So this is also on the UI thing, but this is more just the UI. It's about the game as a whole. So we all know that BTB is a 24 match made game. It's 12v12, but I looked on the menu at the starting screen and it said that we had a player count of 28, which to me implies that in custom games you will be granted 4 more additional players from a BTB match-made match. So there's a total of 28 players in custom games. That is 12 more players in custom games compared to every other game. That is mind-blowing. I am
Custom game nights are gonna be a lot of fun.
That is so exciting. Don't you know how many people get left out of custom games because it's a 16-player lobby? But there's an additional 12 players that get to participate in these probably massive custom games now. Imagine Jenga, imagine Duck Hunt, imagine all that kind of stuff just multiplied by half. Like, this is it's like large scale, man.
For the clans out there, the raids are gonna be crazy.
Yes, dude, that is
I'm
what
excited for
14 v 14, man. 14.
That's gonna require
exciting.
a lot more recruiting on the clan side.
Most definitely.
Mhm.
That would be so fun. You know, imagine the clan meetings, the clan alliances, I don't know, just all that. It's more immersive. You know,
My question to that is, adding that extra 12. Are they one, obviously gonna have bigger maps, which I assume they will, and two, how is that gonna run on a regular like Xbox non next gen? How is that gonna affect those people trying to handle that?
that is true. Most of their settings are downgraded, like I would say, quote unquote, dramatically. Like, most of them on base gen, like Xbox One, is running the game on like 720, 30 frames. So it still is pretty low end. So
It's probably almost to the point. It's borderline unplayable.
yes, but in a way to where it still looks pretty. Like it still looks pretty on Xbox One, but realistically, if everybody's throwing a grenade at you, your console's probably gonna crash or something like that.
It's like the trip mine. It's like the trip mine glitch in Halo 3.
Yeah.
Before you just keep throwing them down, and you overload.
Yeah.
I forgot about that. That's fun.
So I have another con. The scoreboard was kind of out of the way. It was kind of, I don't know, maybe it's because I'm not used to it, but
Yeah, I
it just
didn't.
felt out of place
Yeah,
or too
I
small
felt like
or
I
something.
could never. I always forgot about it.
Yeah, the UI.
To get like brighter colors or something.
It needs to be bigger.
To that point of things that pop up, the medals that you get for double kills or anything, that needs to be fixed entirely. Totally forgot about that.
Yeah, I did too.
That needs to be prominent.
That's literally what I was getting ready to say. I'm like, the UI had a lot of pros, but it had a lot of cons. It had a lot of issues with it as well, like the medals, the scoreboard. I know they try to simplify it in a way to where the scoreboard almost doesn't exist, but I do enjoy seeing, you know, the feed and what people are doing and the scoreboard and, you know, in a bright enough blocky visual to where I can see what's going on. Like it's
So,
just at the bottom.
Did you guys like or dislike the badge icons popping up? Because I'm confused.
I think it was too small.
They were too
I
small.
like them. Yeah, they need to be put in either in the same spot, just a little bigger, and like maybe colorful. Like
Yeah, they're very
Okay.
simplified now. Like all the multi-kill medals, they're all the same color now.
Yeah.
They're not
Mm-hmm.
different colors, like how double kill was yellow and then triple kill was white. They're all just the same color now. And I don't know, they kind of dumbed it down, in my opinion.
they have this idea where like you need to see like everything on your screen. Like nothing can take up your screen at this point. Where that's not the case. Like you can have things take up your screen, but they need to just be plugged in the right spot.
Yeah. Like, I understand how they keep talking about customization, but I feel like they should give you options to customize your user interface. Like, where do you want the scoreboard to be? Do you want it on the left side? Do you want it right side, bottom, top? That kind of thing. I think they could have did something like that.
If they do that, that's huge.
That's a
'cause
lot.
yeah, that's huge if they do that. Just in the fact of how people will love that.
Yeah. You know, it's a freedom of, how they always say, expression. But I wouldn't really call that expression. It's just more of comfortability in my
Preference.
yeah, a preference. So going off from all of that, guys, what do you rate the flight? Me, I'm going to give it, after all this stuff into consideration with how the start of the flight happened with all the overloading and the bots and the UI and the maps, the weapons, the loadouts, the scoreboard, I'm gonna give this flight probably a 7 out of 10. What about you, Clips?
I enjoyed it a lot. It felt a lot like Halo to me, so I'm probably gonna give it like 8 energy swords out of 10.
What about you, Glenson?
Hmm. This might be a little bit low, but just to be safe, 5. Give it a 5. Just right in the middle.
Wow, with no cons, a 5?
Yeah, I know. That's
Well, just the reason why I say that is because of how Halo 5 was. Well, this isn't a beta, but how the beta was a lot better than how the game actually released.
Right.
So just to be on the safe side.
You're not putting the blindfold on and getting blinded by its beauty.
Yep. I'm gonna wait until it releases.
What about you, Dayton?
I think I'm like kind of with Glanson, but I think I'm gonna go like 6.5.
All right. What about you, Rivoli?
Coming from someone that isn't alone here, that doesn't like new age mechanics and is completely stuck in nostalgia glasses, I'm giving it a 7 out of 10 as well.
Gotcha. Yeah. See, I think these are very safe because we're not trying to like go gung ho, like, oh my god, this game is amazing. There's still a lot of skeletons in the closet. You know, there's still so much that we don't know, and with this only being technically the surface level of this game, there's so much that we still don't know, and there's still a lot of things unanswered within the game, you know. And trust me, those 5, 6, 7, and 8s are very safe numbers in my opinion. And
that's just for the flight.
yeah, it's just for the flight. You know, the game, it felt great, and trust me, I'm pretty sure everyone will give this high praise just for the fact that it is a new Halo game. You know, that's one thing that people always try to forget about. You know, if you're a massive fan, you kind of forget the bad and you just go gung ho for whatever's next to come. Me, I never played a beta, so, or at least a Halo beta, so I don't know what it was like. I never played the Halo Reach, Halo 4, Halo 5. I never played any of those betas, so this is my first Halo beta. So I know that there was some nostalgia juices flowing through me when I was playing the game, and I was just like, oh my god, a new Halo game. So it might be a possibility that my own score might be too high. So, but yeah, about the unanswered questions that the flight didn't provide. There's still a lot. So, for example, with this flight, we were not given the clear on how armor cores would work, even though that they did have customization in the flight. They didn't have any armor cores that you could switch to, like for example the Halo Reach armor core. I was wondering if you could wear the modern Mark 7 armor with the Halo Reach armor core. So for example, like wearing that new version of the Recon onto the Halo Reach armor. Like, I understand that the Halo Reach armor will work with the Halo Reach armor, but I don't know if those can switch in between armor cores. So that's one of the things that I didn't get a resolution to within this flight. Also, we didn't get any footage of like theater, forge, that kind of things. Spartan companies, don't know how Spartan companies will work, if Spartan companies are coming back. And also with the emblems that a lot of people didn't get a chance to really work with. We don't know if you can actually interchange that kind of stuff with having a logo and a banner to mix, match, and customize with color or with a skin or a coating. So those are the kind of things that I didn't get answered within this flight that hopefully will get answered within the next flight. I'm gonna move it on to you, Clips, if there's anything you wanted to add.
No, the only thing I was really gonna talk about was the armor. The armor is just being what you talked about, being able to interchange things.
Alright, Apollo, you got anything to add for this one?
No, not really.
Dayton, got anything to add?
I was, like you said the Reach armor, but one of the pictures on Twitter actually had the Gungan helmet from Reach. So maybe that's a possibility that's going to happen the next flight, if there is one.
There will be another flight. There's probably 3 more flights after the one we just had, so that is a guarantee that more flights will come. But hopefully we do get a chance to see how customization do flow because there was a lot of customization options that we did not have a chance to mess around with, like armor effects, service tag, your voice, things of that nature. Yeah, moving on to you, Rivoli.
So one thing I wanted to kind of see, even if it didn't have anything to show for, is I wanted to see how you could check yours or other people's service record. Even if it showed no stats, I just wanted to see how it would navigate and what it would show. I am super an advocate for people being able to see. I think you guys mentioned this in the last episode, like seeing how many ranked matches you've played, how many socials, how many customs, and just your overall experience playing the game. Your KD, showing off your highest rank in there, showing off your file browser with cool screenshots, and making all that accessible. Even if, like I said, even if it showed nothing, I just wanted to see how maybe they would put that in, but that might probably be in one of these future flights, which I'm hoping it is, because low-key, that's a huge feature that extended Halo 3's life, Halo Reach's life, and Halo 5's current life. It's a huge thing that I think is understated a lot.
Most definitely. I'm glad you brought that up, because that was something I also wanted to speak about. So yeah, like what you said, seeing people's service records. I am a advocate for stats too. I love seeing stats. I like seeing people's KD. I don't like seeing KDA. I like seeing KD. I like kill deaths rather than kill deaths assists. Sorry, don't shoot the messenger here. But that was a big thing I wanted to talk about. Also, if you remember from even MCC, but MCC is like a downgraded version of it. I think the best version of it was Halo Reach, in my opinion. When you look at people's game session progress, you could hover over your friend to see what they were playing, how many people they were playing with in the lobby, and what game they were playing, and what the time duration was. I really liked that feature from Halo Reach. You know, it was very descriptive of what they were playing, who they're playing with, and that kind of stuff. I hope they add that back, because I don't know, it was just really nice to be able to get that kind of information. Like me, I'm an informational type of person. I like to see what I'm about to get myself into. So, like what Rivoli said with the stats and commendations, seeing how many challenges you completed, things of that nature, like I like that kind of stuff. It shows the progress of what you've done, what you did, and what you can do. And I think that's a great incentive to push yourselves to keep playing the game and want to do better. If you're able to show off those kind of, milestones and achievements, people will look at you as like, dang, that guy's really cool. He done some incredible stuff that I never thought was even possible. It's rewarding in a way of you, wanting to show off. Now, I thought that was the point of like these kind of games, is to flaunt yourself. And if they make these kinds of improvements, that will most definitely improve the quality of the game.
Something to go along with that is, in Reach, how you could see the person's what is it called? Their game types and their maps.
The file share?
Yes. I really hope they bring that back, and being able to see the pictures you took in game was really cool, and the clips you took.
Yeah.
I always really liked that.
And
I hope they bring that back.
And even like not just being able to do it if they join your lobby before you start matchmaking, like when you're waiting in the lobby, like to start the game with random people, like being able to just look over their stuff, see what maps they have, and then if you see something you might want to play, you can download it, or a screenshot you like, you can download it.
It was super quick and super easy on how to get it.
Yeah, I don't like how your opponents are unknown until like after the game. I don't think that's not bringing the community together. It's just saying, your opponent is this unknown person, and after the match, now here they are. You want to know who they are before you get into the game, and then after you leave the game. You could target a specific person, like, oh man, that's that YouTuber. He's on the other team. Let's get him. It could be something like to that extent of, excitement. You're in the lobby with, a 343 employee, and you didn't even know.
Right.
So I hope they fix that too. That you're bringing up some really good stuff that like I keep forgetting, and it's just bam, just one after another, and like
back when I was playing Halo 3, I think it was in Halo 2 as well. I can't really remember. I didn't play a lot of that online, but Halo 3, like when you joined a social or a ranked game, you could scroll down and you could see, like, oh damn, I'm playing a 5-star general. Oh damn, he has a 3-star general with him. Oh, they know each other because they're partied up. I can see the line there. Like, great, now we have to try. This isn't just going to be like a sit back game. Like you knew, like there were some surprises. Don't get me wrong, but like you basically had a general idea of, like you said, what you were getting yourself into.
yeah, that was the fun part about the older Halo games, because like you said, it gave you that mentality of like, oh, you know, let's bring our best this match. And I think that what brought you adrenaline before the match started. And which brings another pro. Those Spartan intros before the match start is cool. That is cool.
Yeah, I like that.
It
I hope
gets-
you can customize it.
It gets my blood pumping. Like when they get into those stances getting ready to fight, that blew my mind. Like the Halo 5 one was very boring to me. They just walked up and then the game started. But these guys, they're
like
in position. They like, let's go. Like these Spartans are more. They seem more serious. They seem like they want to be a super soldier. They want to do their job right this time. And like the Halo 4 Spartans from Spartan Ops, they just seem so goofy and laid back, and it was just, I don't know, it wasn't for me. But like these Spartans,
My one nitpick on that is that when it started and they started like punch in the air or whatever they did, and then when they shot you into the game, they just brought up a gun. I'd rather them do like an animation with like the starting gun of that game, whether it was be like the pistol or the AR, as long as like whatever the first gun is, like obviously bring it out, but like
It'd be really
rather-
cool if you can customize it like completely. Because
That'd be cool.
it'd be really cool, like if right before you do, like, let's say clan battles, you can all have an emote that'll like interact with itself, and it'd be a really cool thing to do.
I'm pretty sure you probably nailed that one. That's probably going to be like battle pass stuff.
Yeah,
I'm
I
pretty
figured
sure.
it could be something that would be like exclusive loot for clans if they do some sort of like clan rewards.
Yeah, I could see that.
Or something you can unlock through the store with the credits.
yeah.
Yeah.
And speaking of like those customizable stances, I've seen a guy with a customizable stance. I probably won't ever find it again, but at the end of a match, you know how it shows your players at the end and they're all in parade rest.
Mhm.
Yeah.
There was one guy that was saluting, and the other ones were in parade rest. So I'm pretty sure, like somewhere in the battle pass or reward systems, that you will get a chance to customize at least the post-game stance to something else.
As like a reward.
Yeah, it's like a reward. So I'm pretty sure the post-game stances can be adjusted, but the pre-game, I think that's just an animation, because the one at the end was just like a still model, and I guess the best way to put that. It was just a model pose. But the beginning stances are animated. I'm not sure if they're going to go too far to animate those like every season and bring in new ones, but I think that they can do post-game stances a lot quicker, because it's just, you know, hey, pose for this, pose for that, rather than animate this and animate that each season, you know.
You made me, I don't know why, you made me think of another con that I forgot to mention. The glow on the enemies during the matchmaking fights is too bright. I don't like seeing them from completely across the map and I just see a giant pink blip because I have the enemy color of cotton candy pink.
Yeah.
I didn't like it. I thought it was too bright.
Oh, guys, you want to know something that really caught my attention that I was thinking about? Someone mentioned multi-team, right?
Mhm.
That kind of gets me too. Like, is multi-team even going to be a thing? And if so, how would they do it? Because I know they're not doing it, you know, red versus blue versus yellow. Instead, they have it based on, like, teams. They have Eagle Team, Snake Team, and they're probably going to have, like, Shark Team and this team and that team, but how would you decipher them in the match? Because regardless, your enemy is whatever color you highlighted them as. So you don't know which team is assigned to which team. And if you're doing 5-team capture the flag, whose flag do you have?
I think you should probably contact someone at 343 because I think you just ruined their idea.
No, that seriously,
It's probably not even going to be in the game.
Yeah, you have to
I don't think it is.
You gotta put that into consideration, though, right? Oh, I grabbed
What was
Eagle
the last
Team's
game that
flag.
had multi?
You got to look at the emblem on the flag. Like, what base am I at?
Yeah, for real. Which base am I at? Am I at red teams, or am I at snake team's base, or am I at boar team base? Am I at cat team base?
Did Halo 5 have that game type?
Yeah, they had multi-team, but everybody was assigned a color. You remember when we did the flag jumping practice?
Oh yeah, you're right. Jeez.
The only solution I can think to that is if you go into that, it just forces people to see the same stuff. But then you're not used to that if you're off that color, so then it could screw you. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know. That's a good point.
With that being said, they might not even have multi-team. And that'd be very unfortunate. But even with custom games,
That means no one rocket race.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Like even with custom games, when you have drag race and custom games, how would that work? Oh, especially in custom games, can you turn off the enemy outline in custom games, or do you have to have outlines with enemies in custom games too?
Right, that would suck for things like Michael Myers and things like that.
Exactly.
Those custom games.
Yeah, this monetized color system is sketchy at this point.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. These are so many unanswered questions that we don't have, and just because we were doing team versus team, it doesn't help if we, just even if you go into matchmaking for FFA, I understand that we're saying allied team are this color and enemy team is that color, but does that mean all enemies are outlined, or enemy team is outlined? That wasn't clarified.
Right, fair point.
This snippet here needs to be cut down and sent to 343 because if they haven't thought of this, then that's a huge concern because that's going to screw up a lot.
Yeah, it really would. Custom games wouldn't be as fun. You wouldn't be immersed. You don't know who's beside you because they're highlighted this super bright random color that you chose. And
Right.
Well, even that too. Think about like Clip said, even in matchmaking, when you're highlighted, being sneaky in the open, if someone doesn't see you walk by without that or with it, it just doesn't make sense to me. Like he said, yeah, you're too bright. If you would have you could have scooted on by without it, but because you're highlighted in neon pink, they know you're there.
Yeah. And you know how they always keep talking about expressing your character? How can you see your character's armor when your outline is, covering all that for you? You
gotta die to see it.
Yeah, you don't see that. So
Suppose we have 30,000 deaths just to see their armor.
With this being a 2-month-old build, I hope most of those concerns have been, addressed. Seriously.
Yeah, I hope someone at that office or whoever's working at home said, guys, we didn't think about this.
Yeah. Take a look at all your old games and play your old games again to see what worked and didn't work. There was multi-team in pretty much every Halo game.
Aren't we supposed to get a survey for
some people?
Yeah, see, some people get a survey. Throughout that weekend, you were supposed to submit your tickets throughout the weekend. That's something that they did not clarify. I thought everybody was going to get a survey on Monday, but they did not.
Yeah, I didn't know anything about that.
So I tried to submit all my tickets before it was over, and luckily I didn't have to go to work that early in the morning, so I had a chance to.
I don't know what tickets. What tickets are you guys talking about?
When I mean submit a ticket, just submit a report or submit a bug, that kind of thing. They just give you a little list, submit a ticket here. And you go to halosupport.com and you'll just follow the prompts.
Gotcha.
I knew nothing about that at all.
didn't know anything about tickets.
Right. So moving on to our final topic of the night is the next flight predictions. What's going to be in the next flight? Who's going to be in the next flight? What the next flight is going to be about? So, starting with me, of course. Some people think that the next flight is probably going to be in another week or another 2 weeks. With the game potentially coming out in November, it's August now. You got September, October. I feel that we're gonna have a flight every month. So we had one for August, and then we're gonna wait until September, and then another one in October. I think the one in October is going to be something that's gonna like have them worry about what they need to focus on in the long run. But the one in September, I think, is going to be more focused on PvP. I'm pretty sure that they already announced that, but I'm pretty sure they're gonna do like PvP BTB mostly, because they're trying to get you into that new immersion of, vehicles spawning from the sky rather than just teleporting out of nowhere. So I really think they want to showcase that off for the beta to see how the feedback for that is gonna go. They're probably gonna go more in depth with customization. Probably no custom games. Custom games might be the very last one, or maybe Forge might be the very last one. I do not think Forge will be in the next flight nor theater mode. They might showcase a new game mode rather than also with BTB, and also a new game mode. Like, for example, how they had Spartan Ops in Halo 4, how they had Firefight in Halo Reach and Halo 5. They're gonna have probably some PvE-esque type of game mode that we might try out, and that is my guess for what the next flight is going to be. Going to toss it off to you, Clips.
That's pretty much what I'd like to see. We got to see the multiplayer gameplay of it. I'd like to see how campaign is going to play, or if they're going to do some sort of firefight.
Moving on to you, Apollo.
Honestly, I don't even know if they're gonna do another fight for another few months. Just my take on it, but also I don't really know.
It's guaranteed they will have more than just this one flight from August. So that is confirmed.
Oh, really?
Mhm.
Oh, okay. Did not know that.
Yeah, so everyone does get another chance at playing Infinite again. And they said that they're gonna actually expand the player limit. So whoever didn't get in last time will most definitely get a guarantee in next time. So moving on to you, Dayton.
Are we uninvited? Do we have to get a new invite or something for the next flight, or are we automatically in since we're in the second one?
I'm pretty
Does
sure.
anybody know?
I'm pretty sure the players that were in the first one are grandfathered in, because the point is that they're trying to expand it, not replace.
Right. And then another thing, I'm hoping to see like an objective game mode, like capture the flag or something in the next flight, just to get a feel for competitive per se.
All right, and what about you, Rivoli?
I think this next flight is going to be them trying to do a half and half thing. I think part of the time they're going to open up the floodgate to full PvP for part of the time and try to stress test a little bit and probably figure that out a little bit, and then the other half I think you guys kind of nailed is, and they're going to try to maybe throw in like a firefight and see how that plays, because if there's bigger lobbies, that's bigger firefights. It ain't going to be 4 people anymore, in my opinion. So I think that's definitely going to be interesting for them to maybe experiment with and see how that plays out in the connectivity.
Yeah, Halo, especially in Halo Reach, had a big issue with PvE content, like doing the campaign and multiplayer. If you ever did this, if you ever went to campaign multiplayer on Halo Reach, you would know that it is awful. You cannot walk at all correctly because your connection to the host or whatever was just so awful that it was just a big delay in whatever you were doing. And like you said, there's the most definitely won't be a 4-player limit of firefight. Even in Halo 5 with Warzone firefight, I think they bumped that up to 8. So they did that back in 2015. This is 2021. You know that they're gonna bump it up again, or maybe keep it at 8 players for firefight. So that is something to put into consideration. Having so many people with different connections trying to hook up onto a server to literally, maintain stability. I think that is a feature that they should probably test out before the game's release.
And definitely with all the AI or the extra AI like dropping in tanks and coming in and out, and it's just gonna be a lot.
Yeah, it's gonna be a lot of terror on the screen too. So like with those players on the base game with multiple vehicles dropping from the sky, multiple AI attacking you, throwing grenades, just so much stuff in one, sequence in front of you. How overwhelming is it on the older consoles, because they are trying to maintain, the older generation to Halo Infinite.
Right.
Alright, and I think that concludes this episode of the Halo Holo-Table. This has been UA Mr. Meat 29, UA Clips, UA Apollo, UA Dayton, and Rivoli. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you so much, Rivoli, for being here on the show. It was a blast to have this conversation. You literally blew my mind with the extra stuff that I did not ever think to even mention. For some reason, I just completely forgot about some of the stuff that you brought up, which I'm glad we had you on the show. Well, to clarify some of that stuff for us and for the viewers. So, just wanted to give a big thank you, and cannot wait for the future of Halo Infinite and what we have planned. But with that being said, this is UA Reformed. Thank you for watching.